We are back here to talk about the neutral cards in Descent of Dragons and the final video about Descent of Dragons and the cards that were released for the expansion of Descent of Dragons. First off, we got Devoted Maniac. So you got a 4-cost 2/2 Rush, Battlecry, Invoke Galakrond. Galakrond is good for most classes. Actually, I'd say good for all the classes, but this dude is not great. He is mostly still run in Galakrond decks because the Invoke is just so good. I mean, a 4-cost 2/2 Rush is terrible, but it's just because the Invoke is so strong, it's worth it. So, honestly, I'd still give him 3 stars for playable, even though he looks like trash. We got Evasive Draconid. There we go. 7-cost 7/7 Dragon. Taunt can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Very strong 7-cost 7/7. This is your neutral 7-cost 7/7 for the expansion. You always get one. Will they ever go away? The answer is no, because Blizzard has fun with them. And I can understand why. Obviously, a 7/7 Taunt is pretty good already. And then it can't be targeted by spells and Purifiers. Obviously, the 7-cost 7/7 is a little bit below the curve, but because you got the Taunt and can't be targeted by spells and hero powers, balances out pretty nice. Very good for any dragon deck. I actually give you 4 stars for very good because it's actually really dang strong. Shield of Galakrond, 5-cost 4/5 Taunt and Battlecry, Invoke Galakrond. Honestly, decent stats already. Invoking Galakrond, great plus. Overall, pretty dang good card. 4 stars, very good. Twin Tyrant, 8-cost 4/10 Dragon. Battlecry, deal 4 damage to 2 random enemy minions. I've always kind of looked at this card and just, it's a 4/10. I wish it would have, Taunt, but the Battlecry is honestly pretty good. I've actually always kind of crapped on this card a little bit, but I think just kind of playing it and using it in a good variety of dragon decks, I'm like, what? Because I've been putting it in the decks, it makes me kind of see of why it's actually good. Because it's actually a pretty decent card. Honestly, it would be amazing if it had Taunt. I think it would actually be overpowered. So I understand why they made it exactly like this, the way it is. Because on paper, it doesn't sound great. Or at least to some people, it might actually sound great. To me, it didn't sound that great. But I think kind of using it and seeing it in play, I appreciate that it is actually a pretty good card. So I do give it 3 stars for playable. Bad Luck Albatross, 3-cost 4/3 Beast, Death Rattle, shuffle 2 1/1 Albatrosses into your opponent's deck. This can absolutely mess up any opponent's deck. If it's control on control, Bad Luck Albatross could throw it in favor of that control deck that played it. Because your opponent does not want to play 1-cost 1/1s, because they have much better options in a control deck. In an aggressive deck, this isn't going to help that much because you're probably dead already by the time they drew it. So, another pretty dang good card. Probably better than the last one, so I do give it 4 stars for very good. Big old whelp. We got a 5-cost 5/5 Dragon. Battlecry, draw a card. Honestly, great. Amazing. You can't change my mind. This is just honestly a very good dragon option. This is a shoe-in for any dragon deck, any dragon Highlander deck, anything. Great. Awesome. 4 stars. Very good. Blazing Battle Mage, 1-cost 2/2. We finally got a 1-cost 2/2 for neutral. We had 1-cost 2/2 for Druid for a while now. So now they brought one to neutral, but without the beast tag on it. So honestly, is it good? Is it overpowered? It is not overpowered. I think it is completely balanced. Relatively good. I will give it 3 stars for playable. And you're like, what? Isn't it very good? I mean, it's good, but I think there's maybe some better one-cost options. Firefly still has very good diversity because it has so much flexibility. This is honestly still very good, but I'd still throw it under the category of just playable. So, Blowtorch Saboteur, 3 cost 3 4. Battlecry, your opponent's next hero power costs 3. Honestly, looked pretty good when I first saw him. I'm like, alright, I can get behind that. And then, I have not seen him much of in any decks at all. Well, I mean, I only play Wild, so that might be a reason, but I haven't seen any meta decks that have been playing him in Standard, really, like, at all. So I will actually give him 2 stars for bad. Camouflage, gosh. We're just gonna skip that. 6 cost 6/6 max battlecry. Give your other mech stealth until your next turn. This one's kind of just out of left field. It's like mechs. I'm like, what? Okay. Not really sure why you went with mechs because you know, that was kind of not this expansion. This expansion is dragons, but yet you're still throwing mechs at us. Alright, cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this thing played. I have no clue what it says when it's played. I've never seen it played. I've never played it. If you got no use for it, don't play it. Don't have it. 1 star. What's the point of getting your mech stealth? I don't understand what the point. I mean, I guess you stealth it so then you can magnetize to it? I don't know. I haven't seen it at all. I haven't seen anyone make it work. 1 star. Dust it. Chromatic Egg. 5 cost 0, 3 battlecry. Secretly discover a dragon to hatch into. Death rattle. It hatches. Generally, the dragons are really big because you get 3 options. You're obviously taking the biggest option of the group, which dragons are relatively big in general. Anyway, you can also make a death rattle a bunch if you've got anything for that then as well. So honestly, pretty good. I'd say it's pretty decent. I would give it 3 stars for playable. Very good for any egg deck or any dragon deck or any death rattle. Not necessarily a dragon deck, but a death rattle deck would be very good with this as well. Cobalt Spellkin, 5 cost 3/5 dragon battlecry. Add 2 1-cost spells from your class to your hand. This is very relative on exactly what class you take, because it's good for some classes, but not good for others. Because some classes have horrible 1-cost spells. Some classes have great 1-cost spells. Like, if you're playing this in Mage, that's pretty dang good. If you're playing this in Warlock, you get Mortal Coil. And another Mortal Coil. Like, you don't get anything that great in Warlock for 1-cost spells, at least. So, I give this 3 stars for playable. Depth Charge. 1 cost 0/5 at the start of your turn. Deal 5 damage to all minions. All minions. Doomsayer is just a flat out better option because it 100% kills everything. I mean, what people have said about this is give it a little more health, so then it does it multiple times. I don't know if I necessarily like that, but I mean, I can see where they're going with it, but I would rather play Doomsayer. So 2 star, because if you're playing a control deck, you're obviously probably playing Doomsayer instead. So 2 stars, bad. Dragon Breeder, 2 cost 2/3. Choose a friendly dragon, add a copy of it to your hand. Good for any dragon deck, Add another dragon to your hand, especially if it had Battle Cry, is really good. So, 3 stars playable. Dragon Ball Poacher, 4 cost 4/4. If your opponent controls a dragon, gain plus 4/4 and rush. This thing is huge against dragon decks. It's huge. Terrible against anything else. So, it's hard to kind of rate this one because it's amazing on one hand against certain decks. It's terrible on the other hand against non-dragon decks. So, I'm going to put it right in the middle. 3 stars for playable, because it could be more impactful later on. Dread Raven, 3 cost 3/4 beast, has +3 attack for each other Dread Raven you control. This could be good. I have a bunch of Dread Ravens and they all hit for a lot. I mean, it's set up for kind of, hey, let's go for an OTK deck, but I think it could be a little more difficult than that. But I will still give it 3 stars for playable. Evasive Worm. Sure. 2 cost 2/1 beast with poisonous. Can't be targeted with spells or hero powers. Flat out better than Pit Snake, but Pit Snake was 1 cheaper. Would you rather pay 1 more to give it can't be targeted by spells or hero powers? I think 100% that is a fair trade-off. And then for 1 more, you get 1 more health, and instead of can't be targeted with spells or hero powers, you get stealth instead. Stealth is, I think, technically better than can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So, still kind of figuring out where that lies. I think that is a very good balance of where that should be. So, I will give that 3 stars for playable. Evasive Feywing, 4 cost 5/4 dragon. Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Honestly, really good dragon. Very strong dragon. Very good 4-drop. I really like this card. I will give it 4 stars for very good. Evasive Worm, 6 cost 5/3. Divine Shield or Rush. Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Once again, another good card. 5/3 with Rush and Divine Shield can wipe out anything, and then he kind of chills around still afterwards. I see him kind of just being quick clear a little bit out, and then do some more damage the next time. So I will give him 3 stars for playable. Faceless Corruptor, 5 cost 5/4 rush. Battlecry, transform one of your minions and do a copy of this. Really good. Like, really good. A 5/4 that gives you another 5/4 for 5. Really good. This is really good in Shaman, especially. You just do a totem, and then you change one of your totems into a 5/4. Or it's really good for Paladin. Change one of your silver hands into a 5/4. Honestly, really good. Ridiculously good. I will give it 4 stars for very good. Firehawk. 3 cost 1/3. Elemental. Battlecry, gain +1 attack for each card in your opponent's hand. I mean, I can see this being in like a mill deck for Wild, but that's about all it's got going for it. Because it's not, there's no mill in Standard anymore. Mill decks are not in Standard. So, is it good? It's okay. I mean, I'd give it 3 stars for playable. It could be pretty decent if you got it out right on turn 3. Your opponent has nothing to deal with it, and they had a good amount of cards in their hands, and you got a 3 cost like 6/3 on the board. So, could be pretty good. 3 stars. Playable. Global Glide Tech, 3 cost 3/3. Battlecry if you control a mech. Game +1/1 and rush. Honestly, very good for any mech deck. Not exactly sure why it was introduced in this expansion. They're like, you know what, I think we can put this in here. So they did, and honestly, it works. It's honestly a pretty dang good card. I give it 4 stars for very good because a 3 cost 4/4 with Rush. It's pretty good for any deck, really. So mech decks, a little bit stronger right there. Grizzled Wizard. 2 cost, 3/2 battlecry, swap hero powers with your opponent until your next turn. Honestly, completely useless card. I haven't seen like any play for this. But I mean, the cost is low, so I mean it's not bad. Most likely what you want to do is like, hey, I'm gonna use your hero power to my advantage. So they play the Grizzled Wizard, and then you use their hero power to do whatever it is you want it to do. Like they had a 1 health minion out there. You're like, alright, I'm playing against a mage, so I'm going to play Grizzled Wizard, and I'm going to fire blast that minion and kill it. But it's very situational then as well in that instance. So I'd give it 2 stars for bad, because it's not great. Gyrocopter. Giant, yeah. Maybe. 6 cost 4/5 mech with Rush and Wind Fury. Hefty price for a 4/5, but Rush and Wind Fury, not bad. This is used mostly to deal with decent sized boards, I guess. Kind of, I mean, small-ish, but not too big and not too small that it's like, I don't want to play it. It's not worth it. I'd play it on a relatively small board. Like if my opponent has 2 1/1s, I'd still play it. So smaller board the better to play this. So little hefty still for the price though, I think. But I will say 2 stars for bad. I'd maybe play it a little bit, but the price is what I can't get over. I think they could have gotten away with a 5 cost 4/5 with Rush and Wind Fury. Actually, no. 5 cost 4/5 is already okay for the cost. Because you got chill. No, you got 4 cost 4/5 chill when you. No, I think they could have gotten away with 5 cost. If anything, if it was too strong, then make it a 5 cost, like 4/4. Then at that point, I don't know. I think 6 is just a little bit too much. So it's not like horrible, but a tiny little change would make it better. So 2 stars, bad. Hypogriff. 4 cost 2/6 with Rush and Taunt, and it's a beast. Not bad. I've seen this work. It's playable. I think it's actually not bad. I think it's pretty good. So I will say 3 stars for playable. There's not too much to talk about with this. Horde Pillager. 4 cost 4/2 Pirate. Battlecry. Equip one of your destroyed weapons. Which, what I've seen most of the time, is you equip Ankar back. So you can draw more pirates and attack more with your weapon. Mostly Pirate Warrior is what you see this in. Not bad though otherwise. Equipping a weapon that you've destroyed. Worst idea to do this for is with Rogue, because Rogue has those 1/2 weapons that are completely terrible that you don't want to get out of this. But otherwise, 3 stars for playable. I think it's pretty good. Hot Air Balloon. 1 cost 1/2 mech at the start of your turn, gain +1 health. I honestly think Hot Air Balloon is really good. This could outbeat Blazing Battle Mage given it enough time. So, I'd say this is pretty good. Is it very good though? No. It's harder to judge like 1 cost ones, because it's like, I mean, it's a great 1 cost, obviously, but it's very hard to justify putting 1 cost at like 4 stars, because it's hard to kind of judge them. Like the only 4-star 1 cost I think from this expansion, was it? No, last expansion was Sludge Slurper. I'd maybe give like 4 stars too, because Sludge Slurper was really, really good. But this is honestly pretty dang good too. I will give it 3 stars for playable. Cobalt Sticky Finger, 5 cost, 4/4 pirate. Battlecry, steal your opponent's weapon. Very situational, first off. So it just makes it very difficult to judge it again. Just like the Dragon Ball Poacher. It's like with the Dragon... Except this is technically worse. Because if your opponent doesn't have a weapon, it's worse than you would be playing Dragon Ball Poacher. Because Dragon Ball Poacher costs 1 less. And if your opponent doesn't have a thing, it hurts. But like if your opponent doesn't have a thing here, it's like I'm not even going to play it. Because that's just a terrible idea. So, I'll give it 2 stars for bad. Because it's too situational. Living Dragon Breath. 3 cost, 3/4 elemental. Your minions can't be frozen. Decently statted. It's got a pretty good effect. I mean, the effect is kind of useless most of the time. But, I mean, it's a decent body. So, I mean, I'll give it 3 stars for playable. Body's fine. Size for 3. And then it's got a bit of an upside if it needs to be there. It's there. And it's an elemental, which can also be useful to in some cases as well. So I will give it 3 stars for playable. We got Parachute Brigand. 2 cost, 2/2 pirate. After you play a pirate, summon this minion from your hand. It has to be in your hand for you to actually get it to jump out, instead of like from your deck like it was with Patches. But honestly, still a pretty good card if you're playing an aggressive pirate warrior as such, or any kind of pirate deck. I give it... I'm trying to think, where do I want to place this? I think I'm actually going to put it... It's between 3 and 4. I think I'm going to do 3 for playable. No, I'm going 4 stars for very good, because I do think it's actually a very strong card and completely can be legitimate. So I will go 4 stars for very good. Plate Breaker, 5 cost, 5/5, Battlecry, destroy your opponent's armor. Another situational card, but a 5 cost, 5/5 doesn't hurt as much. And plus, even if your opponent has a little armor, you can get rid of it. So honestly, this one is actually probably a lot better than the other 2 that we've seen. But I'm going to still go with 3 stars for playable. And it's good in case of any big armor decks become anything scary. So, Scale Rider, 3 cost, 3/3. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, deal 2 damage. Relatively just decent, good. Does what it needs to do. 3 stars, playable. Skyfin, 5 cost, 3/3 Murloc. Battlecry, if you're holding a dragon, summon 2 random Murlocs. So I've kind of seen with this as well. With some of the neutrals, you got like a weird, or actually with Paladin, you got like some weird Murloc dragon synergy. So I don't know if they're kind of like with Wild trying to give more support to a DBM deck, which if you don't know what DBM stands for stands for Dragon DBM? Yeah, DBM. Dragon Beast Murloc deck. Which, honestly, the point of the deck is to have cards that kind of go all with each other. So, this is kind of, I guess, this could go with it very well. I'm just trying to figure out why they decided to do this here. But, I mean, it's not terrible if you have a dragon. I'm going to give it... I'm actually going to give it 2 stars for bad because there isn't that much synergy in standards specifically for it. So, Tasty Flyfish, and another example of exactly what I was talking about. 2 cost, 2/2 Murloc, Death Rattle, give a dragon in your hand, +2/+2. Again, some more dragon Murloc synergy. Very useful for DBM decks and Wild again. I'd play this in Wild, quite honestly, with a DBM deck. You play this for sure. You've got Scale Worm, You've got, what's the dragon for Paladin, which is in standard? Scale something? I can't remember. You've got options, though. You've got good options. So, I'll give this, another, again, I do actually think Tasty Flyfish is a little better than Skyfin here. So I will go with 3 stars for playable for the Tasty Flyfish, because it gives a really decent sized buff to a dragon. Tentacle Menace. 5 cost, 6/5. Battlecry, each player draws a card, swap their cost. This is just weird. This is just a weird card. Random. Throwing some more RNG into it if you want to, I guess. Just kind of one of those fun cards, I guess, if you want to play it for, because Hearthstone does that sometimes, where it's like, here's just kind of a weird card. Have fun. So, I mean, there's that with that one. I mean, it's not actually that good of a card. It's not useful at all, because you're playing too much with RNG on this. You draw a small card, they draw a big card, they get cheap for something huge, and you have to pay some big amount for something tiny. So I go 1 star, get rid of it if you have no use for it, really. So 1 star, dust it. Transmorgifier. 2 cost, 2/3. After you draw a card, transform it into a random legendary minion, which actually isn't. A random legendary minion really isn't as good as the game makes. I guess the game makes it sound. Really, just another randomness card again, just like Tentacle Menace. It's just like, hey, you could draw cards and just get random legendary minions. It's like, cool. Random legendary minions are nice. Sometimes they're absolutely terrible. Draw a card. Oh, this would have been a nice card. Well, I'll get a random legendary minion. Let's see if it's any good. And then you get Millhouse Mana Storm. And then you're upset. Because Millhouse sucks. 2 stars. Bad. Actually, 1 star. Dust it. Dust it completely. 1 star. Troll Bat Rider. 4 cost, 3/3. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to a random enemy minion. I mean, that's not bad. You sometimes do see, I mean, in the basic set, you got 3 cost, 3/3 Taunt. 4 cost, 3/3. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. I think that's good. 3 star. Playable. Grade Grapple Snapper. Sniper. Grapple. What the frick is a grapple snap? What the frick is a grapple snapper? What am I doing anymore? I don't know. 6 cost, 5/5. Battlecry, both players draw a card. If it's a dragon, guess what? You summon it. But the thing is, if your opponent's playing a dragon deck too, they can get a dragon out as well now onto the board. And even if you're playing a dragon heavy deck, let's say you draw a card and you don't even get a dragon. Yeah. Or your opponent gets a dragon and you don't. That makes this card hurt sometimes. So I think this card is... I mean, then you gotta go super heavy on the dragon. And then that just kind of... What about spells? You gotta have a good balance of spells and minions, so you can actually deal with stuff that your opponent probably plays while trying to also control the board. You just go full dragon, like no spells. I mean it helps with your RNG on this card, but what about it helping in the game in general? I will give this 2 stars for bad. I wouldn't necessarily... It's not as bad as, like, Dust It, but it's bad. 2 stars. Wing Commander. 4 cost, 2/5. Has +2 attack for each dragon in your hand. This card can actually be huge. I've seen this be like a 12/5. So, this card can be pretty threatening for turn 4. So, honestly, pretty dang good. I say 4 stars for very good, because in a dragon deck, you can go Again, if you go heavy dragon like here, this dude can be huge. Even if you don't go dragon heavy, he's still a decent size. Like, even if you have 2 dragons in your hand, he's a 6/5 for 4. That's pretty dang good. So I think his 4 stars very good. Worm Rest Purifier. 2 cost 3/2 Battlecry. Transform all neutral cards in your deck into random cards from your class. Which really isn't that useful, honestly. Because you're leaving it up once again to chance. Chance is never a good thing when you... I'd rather make a deck that is actually made to win instead of like, hey, let's see how random cards works out for me. That sounds like a great idea, right, John? I don't know who John is. John's gonna be random example that I have decided to pick of a random person. Like, what the heck, John? Why'd you think random cards were gonna help? Well, the RNG. Well, I don't care about the RNG, John. Make an actual deck that freaking works, but I don't have cards that work. Well, I will just make something. It's better than getting random class cards. Okay? I'd rather make a deck filled with basic cards that I know kind of work together pretty well instead of getting random class cards. Sorry, it's just, I don't understand what they're going with this, honestly, sometimes. So I will go with a solid 1 star because I cannot go lower than 1 star. So 1 star, dust it, get it out of here. Lil Drac Ritualists. 4 cost 3/9 taunt. Battlecry. Summon 3 random 1 cost minions for your opponent. 3 random 1 cost minions are relatively small. And the 3/9 is pretty big. So on average, you're probably gonna... Your opponent... Sorry. So on average, your opponent is probably gonna get 5 to 6 attack. Let's say a 1/2, a 2/1, and then a 1/1. Something like that. So about 5 attack. So that brings this down to a 3/4 with taunt for 4. So really, honestly, not that great. I don't know exactly why this is the way it is. Because I would rather have that be like, I don't know, a death rattle. So you fully get the 3/9. And then once he dies, it's like, oh no, I paid the price. I risked it. And since he died, I have to pay the consequences of letting him die. I mean, otherwise it's a cheap, bigger body. And then maybe as like priest, you can kind of buff him up a bit. Since he starts on the higher health end. To get an inner fire on him. So, I mean, I guess you could go with that kind of strategy, but it's still not amazing. I'm going to go with 2 stars bad. Here's the free legendary that everybody got. Sathravar. 9 cost 5/5 demon. Battlecry. Choose a friendly minion. Add a copy of it to your hand, deck, and the battlefield. So anything big that you want, a bunch of them. Maybe something with a really good battle cry that you want a bunch of. Use this guy for him. I've seen this used pretty nicely, especially with like quest rewards in WoW. It's like the priest one. That sets your health to 40. You grab one, you add another one on the battlefield because it's also an 8/8 taunt for 5. You throw one in your hand for whenever, hey, I need some more health. And you throw one in your deck, which eventually you'll draw to get, hey, back up to 40 health. Really strong. I give it actually 4 stars for very good. Shuma. 7 cost 1/7. At the end of your turn, fill your board with 1/1 tentacles. I mean, I understand what the point of this is. It's like, oh, if you don't deal with it, your opponent just keeps getting 1/1s and keeps getting so much value. I'm like, this really isn't that good. Because the more you play on board, the less this actually does. And the less you... Okay, then let's not play anything on the board. Well, then you just get 1/1s. It's like, well, what about a token Druid? Well, with token Druid, they would prefer this effect to happen at the beginning of their turn, so they can actually buff the 1/1 tentacles. Instead, it's, you play this, you have to wait until your next turn to actually start buffing the stuff. And when it comes back to your turn, your opponent has had a chance to deal with some of those, so it's not even like the full board. You're maybe having like 3 or 4, or maybe like 3 things. 3 or 2 maybe. It's like, well, that's not worth it. Let's wait another turn. But now your opponent has even more stuff on the board to deal with more of your tentacles. And really, this isn't working out. I will go with 2 stars for bad because there's maybe something I'm missing. I haven't seen any good use for it. But 2 stars for bad. Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. 9 cost, 8/8 dragon. Battlecry, if your deck has no duplicates, add 2 random dragons to your hand. They cost 0. This card is great in any Highlander deck. This card is amazing. I've seen it played in every single Highlander deck that now exists. So if it's a Highlander deck, it's got this in it, along with Zephyrus, because Zephyrus is amazing in any Highlander deck. So 4 stars for very good. I wouldn't call it meta defining. It's very close to meta defining, but we've already got Highlander decks. So 4 stars for very good. Friz Kindled Roost. 4 cost 5/4. Battlecry, reduce the cost of dragons in your hand by... Oh, in your deck, not hand. My bad. In your deck by 2. So reducing the cost of dragons in your deck by 2 is ridiculously good. I actually have this card as well. I've played it a little bit. It's pretty good for a dragon deck, though. I will say, body's honestly already pretty okay for a 4 cost. And now you're getting cheaper dragons. Oh boy, this card can do some good amount of damage. I will give this 4 stars for very good. And last but not least, we've got the man that loves Galakrond the most. We got Kronk's Dragon Hoof. 6 cost, 6/6 Battlecry. Draw Galakrond. But if you are already Galakrond, you unleash a Devastation, which a Devastation is an absolutely ridiculous thing that you do. You either get to do Decimate, which is deal 5 damage to the enemy hero, or restore 5 health to your hero. That is the worst one, which is already... honestly, it's not even that bad. You could either reanimate, summon an 8/8 dragon with Taunt. You can do Dominance, give your other minions +2/2. That is a very popular one, I think, for the Zoo Warlock Galakrond deck. And Annihilate. Deal 5 damage to all other minions. So many good options. So many good options. Kronk's has such good diversity. Because Annihilate is better. I mean, it's technically better than Flame Strike. But Flame Strike doesn't hit your own minions. But also, you're probably not doing Annihilate then. And you probably wouldn't do Flame Strike either at that point. Actually, you might do Flame Strike, but you won't do Annihilate. Most likely then, I think the most popular option is actually Reanimate. You get an 8/8 dragon with Taunt, because that thing's huge. You play a 6 cost 6/6, and now you play, and then also an 8/8 Taunt. It's a huge board swing right there. And if need be, it's like, oh man, my opponent has a bunch of stuff. I don't have anything. I'm going to play Kronk's and just annihilate everything. Just kill the board. That's a big board swing right there. Maybe you need lethal. You can go with Decimate, or you just have a bunch of stuff on your board. Buff them all up. Great flexibility. Kronk's is amazing. I will actually give Kronk's 5 stars because he's breaking everything about this game. He is meta defining. And that is why he's 5 stars. Because without Kronk's, Galakrond is a little bit weaker. With Kronk's, Galakrond decks are absolutely amazing. This is a shoo-in for any Galakrond deck. Because it's like, well, I'd like to get Galakrond now. Good thing you got Kronk's in your hand. You can draw him right away. But I stand you strong on that. Great way to end it. 5 stars. Meta-defining Kronk's. I will see you all next time, where we talk about the newest expansion that will be coming out on April 6th? 6 or 7, I can't remember. The Ashes of Outland, if I am remembering that correctly. I will see you all then. This has been a long journey talking about Descent of Dragons. But I will see you for the Ashes of Outland.